Woodi's unmatched arrogance has surfaced again. Just now, after Bien Junwoo proudly praised Zhang Yi, Woodi couldn't help but retort that their captain's high regard of Zhang Yi's abilities was undeserved. After all, if he too had a spatial ability, he would also know that he had to use something to block the subway. In fact, what Zhang Yi did was just a temporary solution, temporarily solving the problems around him. But it did not completely quench the zombie riots. What's the use? Deputy Captain Bailey Chongqing laughed. Woodi, your temper is still as arrogant as your name. The captain undoubtedly has his reasons for saying this. You should learn to discover other people's strengths and not always, without fail, look down on others. Woodi raised his eyebrows in his usual confident demeanor and replied disapprovingly. You misunderstood me. I neither despise him nor look down on him. It's just that, in this underground passage, if it was up to me, I could wipe out all the zombies single-handedly. Bien Junwoo, still with his arms folded, turned his gaze towards Woodi with a teasing smile. Listening to Woodi's arrogant speech, he asked lightly, "Oh, are you so confident?" "Of course," Woodi replied confidently. After all, Woodi's ability was best at dealing with such occasions. Group battles were his strong point and specialty. Bien Junwoo asked back, "But do you know the strength of the Corpse King?" Woodi was stunned for a moment, then replied, "How can I know if I haven't seen that thing?" From the information they collected, they only knew that there were powerful bronze-armored corpses, which were some sort of sentinels for the Corpse King. But as for the Corpse King, not even Zhang Yi and his team who went deep into the subway tunnel had seen it. Not to mention understanding its strength. Everything about the Corpse King still remained a mystery. With Woodi's answer, Bien Junwoo proceeded to say with a knowing smile, "But Zhang Yi and his team solved the zombie problem of the entire subway line with 0 casualties. Don't be blindly obsessed with abilities. The most important thing is how to use your own abilities. Zhang Yi's ability is not purely in combat. What's most amazing about him is how he accomplished this with his brain." Bien Junwoo raised his head and looked at the vast snowy field. There was a long protruding structure in the distance. If they were to walk along this Songzhuang subway line to its main transfer station, then head further north, they will soon reach Tianfeng district, which was the territory of the snow worship sect. Woodi, at this moment, still had a bit of dissatisfaction on his face, so he murmured with his arms folded. "Even if Zhang Yi has brains, so what? If we need new teammates, they must be strong fighters. We've never lacked bag carriers, and I suppose we're not going to need one now." Looking at the childish Woodi, Bien Junwoo just smiled and didn't blame him. Woodi has always been like this, and everyone has long been accustomed to it. Especially after Bien Junwoo's physical condition appeared, his behavior became more and more abnormal. Everyone knew the reason why Woodi was acting like this, but it was a bit difficult to say it out loud. "Alright everyone, let's go. Let's go and see what a zombie siege is like." After Bien Junwoo said this, he took the lead and walked inside their modified snow recreational vehicle. Their driver, Deputy Captain Bailey Chongqing, who was slightly about the same age as Bien Junwoo, didn't have the greasy look of a middle-aged man. Instead, he had a body full of tendons and had a majestic-looking hair. "Captain, where are we going?" Bailey Chongqing asked. "Let's go to Radiant Prosperity Base first," Bien Junwoo replied. Bailey Chongqing nodded slightly. Then, he started the van and drove towards the headquarters of Radiant Prosperity Base. Meanwhile, at this time at Radiant Prosperity Base, similar to the other 2 major bases, they were incredibly busy, because according to Bien Junwoo's instructions, they were required to temporarily abandon all ground buildings and transfer all non-combatants to underground shelters. This can ensure the reduction of casualties, and it is possible that the zombies that had lost their targets will no longer attack because of the reduction in the number of people. Although they were a little reluctant initially, but after witnessing Bien Junwoo's terrifying power, and also taking into consideration who the investigation team were representing, they could only do what they've been instructed honestly. But it is easier said than done. Each base had important factories on the surface, and many living materials are directly piled up in warehouses, dormitories, and workshops. There are at least thousands of people in various forces, and it is very troublesome to clean up. The modified RV of the investigation team came not far from the headquarters of Radiant Prosperity Base and stopped at a commanding height. This place was nearly 5 kilometers away from the base, and you can also overlook the whole view of the surrounding area of the base. Bien Junwoo sat by the window, reached out and darkened the button on the edge of his sunglasses, and adjusted the telescope mode made to observe things at far away, up close. They were waiting for the arrival of the zombies. And although they have heard about the zombie tide and the rat swarm attacking the human base in the information about Tianhai City, but in this case, witnessing it in person was preferable. Also, this was why Bien Junwoo did not directly ask anyone from either base to act with them. At this moment, Xiao Honglian was occupied with her task, directing the combatants to do a good job in defending the base's perimeter, while arranging the orderly evacuation of non-combatants. Time passed slowly, and the sky was moments away from darkening. Soon, in only a matter of minutes, before anyone had barely noticed, darkness descends, but not to the point that it was pitch black. Without difficulty, anyone with a good eyesight can see through the darkness. Lights were immediately lit around the perimeter of the base. You see, compared with zombies that could track the breath of living people, humans needed light to aid their vision in order to fight properly. The zombies emerged from the darkness, densely packed like ants covering the entire base. The huge space around the base was almost completely packed. Looking around, the number of zombies reached at least tens of thousands. This was the second time the investigation team had witnessed such a scene. Bien Junwoo and his team watched silently from a distance, and no one had any intention of helping. They just came to observe the signs of zombie activity, not to help Radiant Prosperity Base solve their current problem. Inside the modified van of the investigation team, their biological and medical expert Meng Xiu distributed their rations for the night. "Captain, please have it." She gave Bien Junwoo his meal. There was a lot of space inside the van to store their rations, move about, and even have their meal, which was very convenient. Yi Jikong, an explosive expert and engineer, held a heavy black computer on his lap. It looked like a huge brick, but even in such a cold environment, it could still operate well. After a fury of clicks, he said, "According to the information provided by each of the forces, the number of corpses dispatched each time is limited. At the highest moment, there were only tens of thousands of zombies." The map of the entire Radiant Prosperity Base and its surroundings were displayed on Yi Jikong's computer screen. He narrowed his field of vision to a particular area around the base. Yi Jikong could clearly see the surrounding movements from a bird's eye view, including every combatant and zombie. Even their own position was clearly visible. This is the function of their country's most advanced satellite system, Nebula. Yi Jikong saw that the zombies had appeared one after another, and there were no more zombies at the subway exits around, so he said to everyone as they all began to eat. Obviously, the number of zombies that the Zombie King can control at the same time is also capped, or the speed at which it transforms corpses into zombies is not as fast as imagined. And we can take advantage of the zombie tide attacking Radiant Prosperity Base to attack the zombie base camp. As long as we can kill the Corpse King, the zombies' actions will become disordered. Also, the threat level of disordered zombies will be greatly reduced. Yi Jikong analyzed the current information to everyone while looking at the computer. Although dark at night, they did not turn on the lights and avoided the zombies far away from being discovered. In the distance, the war was raging, becoming more intense. Roars and screams were heard, but the 7 people of the investigation team did not care. Having experienced numerous battles, everyone continued to eat without any trace of emotion about what was unfolding outside. They would not forget their core mission because of sympathy. Or perhaps they did not have much sympathy for anyone to begin with. A while shortly after, Bien Junwoo said to everyone, "Be prepared for battle. According to Zhang Yi, there must be a large number of bronze-armored zombies underground. They were the sentinels of the Corpse King with unknown abilities." Woodi clenched his fists and made a clattering sound. Then he said with a smile, "Boss, what threat can these dead things pose to us? Not to mention that the underground is now almost empty. You don't have to do anything when the time comes. I can deal with them all by myself." Bailey Chongqing sighed. He looked at the young and energetic Woodi helplessly and raised his eyebrows with his arms folded. "Woodi, we are not here to fight this time. No matter how many zombies you kill, it will be meaningless if the Corpse King escapes. Keep this in mind, and don't indulge in entanglement with things other than the Corpse King." Woodi's expression froze, and he stretched out his hand to scratch the back of his head. "Oops, sorry, I forgot about that." 10 minutes later, the team silently drove to the subway entrance where the zombies came out. There were no traces of zombies around. It seems like they had already left to attack Radiant Prosperity Base. Everyone quickly got off the van, armed and ready for battle. Leading the charge was Bien Junwoo, who was already holding a black pistol in his hand. Its shape was a bit strange, with a larger and longer barrel, and it was black without a trace of reflection. The weapons of the others were also similar, all of which were strangely shaped firearms. Only Bailey Chongqing did not use a gun, but opened the huge box he carried with him. Bailey Chongqing took out 2 pieces of weapons from the box. He then skillfully assembled the weapons, turning them into a strange spear more than 2 meters long. The spear's head was very long, like a huge cone. This was similar to a very rare knight spear, which was eliminated on the battlefield about hundreds of years ago. Its size was extremely huge and its weight was also terrifying. This weapon can only be used when a cavalry charges, and it was difficult for infantry to use this weapon flexibly. But this huge weapon, whether it was used as a blunt weapon to smash, sweep, chop, or as a sharp weapon to stab, was very comprehensive. It can be said that it is most suitable for strengthening, especially for extremely powerful mutants. The team approached the entrance of the tunnel and did not rush down. Meng Xiu walked to the entrance of the tunnel and slowly squatted down. Her right hand was placed in the air above the entrance. "Air mirror," she said. Suddenly, an invisible, purple spiritual force spread out from the entrance of the tunnel and explored downward. This force followed the wall and split into two when it encountered a fork, and then continued to explore. After a few dozen seconds, Meng Xiu put away her right hand, got up and said to everyone, "There are still some zombies in the tunnel, but no special individuals have been found." Meng Xiu's ability can only cover a range of 2 kilometers. In other words, the zombie king is still hiding deep in the tunnel. Hearing this, Bian Junwu said decisively, "Let's go down for a closer look." As he said that, he jumped into the tunnel first with a gun in his right hand. The others followed him without hesitation. The team moved forward quickly along the tunnel. With Meng Xiu's ability, they could clearly judge the terrain and the number of zombies and giant rats in the dark. Bailey Chongqing walked at the front of the team. The scattered zombies encountered along the way were directly smashed by him with his knight's lance. After walking and running for about 5 kilometers, Meng Xiu suddenly said, "Found it! There are a large number of zombies ahead. This should be their lair." In her mind, she saw densely packed zombies, even more than ones outside. And among these zombies, she also saw the bronze-armored zombies whose combat power was comparable to that of mutants. Bian Zhanwu's expression was condensed. "Have you found the Corpse King?" Meng Xiu frowned slightly, concentrated and searched among the zombies with her mental power. "Corpse King." She repeats those words she just heard. There were too many zombies underground, and it was difficult to identify them one by one. Meng Xiu subconsciously looked for a bigger and stronger existence, but apart from the bronze-armored corpses, there were no other zombies with obvious characteristics. Suddenly, she saw an unusual color. "I only found a white-haired monkey." Bian Junwu repeats what he just heard. "White-haired monkey." He then proceeded to give the order without hesitation. "Let's get rid of the zombies first. It's best to catch it alive." No one has ever seen the Corpse King, and this existence itself is a kind of speculation by everyone. So it could be anything, even an ordinary zombie with an ordinary appearance. The only thing Bian Junwu can judge is that since the Corpse King has to command the battle, it is impossible to be too far away from the corpse group. This point was confirmed by Zhang Yi's underground trip. Although Zhang Yi did not see the Corpse King, but at that time, they were lured to an open area by the corpse group with a trick, and then surrounded by a large number of zombies and bronze-armored corpses. If Zhang Yi did not have the skill of Space Shuttle, I am afraid it would have ended badly for them. Based on those actions, Zhang Yi concluded that the Corpse King must have been nearby that time, commanding the corpse group to attack. It became obvious to Zhang Yi that the Corpse King must be among the zombies. As for whether it's the white-haired monkey, the team wouldn't know unless they catch it first. The team quickly made a mad dash forward, towards the zombies at a very fast speed. While moving forward, Bian Junwu gave out his battle plan. By Li Woodi, lead the charge and clean up the zombies first. Xiao Meng, pay attention to monitoring the zombies and check if there are any abnormal individuals. If there are any, inform me in time. The others will come with me and be responsible for capturing the Corpse King. Everyone said in unison that they understand after Bian Junwu gave the order. Soon, according to Meng Xiu's guidance, they came to the place where the zombies gathered. The zombies found them and immediately let out a creepy roar. Bailey Chongqing laughed and immediately charged ahead, shouting for the zombies to go and die. He waved his knight's lance in his hand and rushed directly towards the zombies like a human tank, accompanied by a loud boom. In an instant, hundreds of zombies were swept away. The smelly blood sprayed out like rain, and the broken limbs and heads of the zombies were thrown everywhere. All of a sudden, the crowded zombies were cleared by Bailey Chongqing to form a passage of dozens of meters. Woodi curled his lips and said, "Deputy Captain, you're too slow. Get out of the way and watch me." As he spoke, he slowly opened his arms. In the darkness, a bright light suddenly appeared, floating on his right shoulder, then engulfed his entire body. It was a fist-sized ball of light, with sharp and bright radiant glow. Then, a second ball appeared on his left hand, and a third ball appeared on his head. A few seconds later, dozens of balls of light surrounded him, like the halo of gods in myths and legends. Woodi opened his arms, and these balls of light moved quickly, shooting forward fiercely, turning into a long beam of light. The dazzling white light enveloped everything in front of him. After the bodies of the zombies touched the white light, a big hole was pierced through without any hindrance. Bright beams of light passed through the zombies, and the zombies were shot to pieces as if they were made of paper. Ha ha! Laughing like a madman, Woodi declared, "I am the king of the battlefield." Woodi continued to laugh wildly. His ability is Floating Cannon, a special type, which transforms mental energy into an energy cannon with extremely strong penetrating power. This ability is particularly powerful in group battles. Under the attack of the floating cannon, the group of corpses was torn apart like rags. Bailey Chongqing smiled helplessly and touched his head. When it comes to mowing the grass, a melee-type alien like him is indeed far inferior to Woodi. The group of corpses can hardly form a barrier to everyone. Everyone continued to move forward. Finally, this powerful destructive power attracted the attention of the Corpse King. 4 huge copper-armored corpses walked out from the end of the tunnel. They were 3 or 4 meters tall, like giant stick insects, tall, thin, and long-legged. It's a pity that the perfect body features for humans look extremely weird when pressed on them. When Woodi's floating cannon hit them, the power was not so impressive. Woodi narrowed his eyes. "Are these the so-called copper-armored corpses? I want to see how powerful you guys are." He put away the light ball around him and slowly condensed a white light in his right hand. But Bien Junwoo held him down. "Take a break first. Although Woodi's floating gun is powerful, it consumes mental energy. In a sense, if this ability is used too much, it will cause irreparable damage to the ability user." Woodi still listened to Bien Junwoo's words. He put away his ability and said, "Then I'll leave it to you." So they didn't take it lightly. "We'll take one each," Bien Junwoo told the others, having already selected one of them and raised the large black pistol in his hand. Bang! A dull gunshot sounded, and a bullet accurately hit the right eye of the bronze-armored corpse. After being hit, the bronze-armored corpse with steel bones actually staggered back a few steps. This weapon is obviously not an ordinary pistol. Bien Junwoo walked towards the bronze-armored corpse step by step with an expressionless face, and the bullets in his hand hit its slender torso one by one. It actually forced it to retreat step by step. Bailey Chongqing, Kong Shang, and Qi Guangming also selected their respective opponents. Bailey Chongqing swung his knight's lance and rushed over to fight a bronze-armored corpse in close combat. Kong Shang slammed his fists together, and the color of his body instantly turned into a dark silver metal color. The ability of Forged Steel allows him to have the strongest and sharpest body, turning every part of his body into a deadly weapon. He flashed and appeared in midair, and his right leg chopped the shoulder of a bronze-armored corpse like a long knife. The bronze-armored corpse was knocked to his knees by this blow, and a terrible cut was made on its shoulder, revealing the bones inside. Kong Shang's expression was a little surprised, because he saw that the bone was actually blood red. "It's really hard. His kick could split a car." At this moment, a beam of light passed by him and shot into the chest of the bronze-armored corpse. The chest of the bronze-armored corpse had been pierced through by the beam of light with a huge hole, and the flesh and blood were blurred. Kong Shang turned around and saw Qi Guangming holding a strange black sniper rifle, and smiled at him. "At times like this, we still need to cooperate." On the other side, Bien Junwoo had already pressed the bronze-armored corpse against the wall, and then stuffed the pistol into its mouth. Seconds after, he blew its head up from the mouth. The remaining half of the body collapsed to the ground and fell heavily into the smelly subway railroad tracks. Although the combat effectiveness of the 4 bronze-armored corpses is strong, they are only appetizers in front of the investigation team. Meng Xiu pressed his head with one hand and suddenly said, "The corpse group is moving. The white-haired monkey and the 6 bronze-armored corpses are about to run away. A large number of corpses are surrounding us."